Hello everyone, welcome back to our next class. So our next topic is related to peripheral devices, which are your input-output devices. So first of all, we will start with the input devices. So in input devices, we have our keyboard, optical input devices, such as your card readers, your keyboard, your mouse, and all that stuff. Now, in this, I think you might be aware with the card reader, paper tape reader, barcode. Now, there is something known as digitizer. Now, what is this digitizer? It is a device which is used on your mobile phones right now. So, there is a touch screen. There is a touch and there is a screen. So, that touch which we call is a digitizer. It takes a input from your finger and then transfers it to CPU and it detects the input. So that is a digitizer. So after this we have OMR, that is optical mark reader, which is used in your examinations to check your sheets, as well as it is also used in banking systems to find out the check numbers. So it is used at that place. Then we have magnetic input devices. Now magnetic input devices, we have magnetic strip readers, we have magnetic tapes, magnetic drives, which are used as an input device as well as output device. Then we have touch screen, light pen, mouse, and there are several input analog input devices as well. So in the case of output, we have card punchers. So this is a kind of a obsolete technology right now. We don't no longer use the card punchers. Then we have paper tape puncher. It is the same thing. CRT is your cathode ray tube monitor, which you use as a monitor in old computers. Now we have LED and LCDs used in this. Then we have printers. So we have a impact printer. It is a old technology. Then after this we have inkjet, laserjet, dot matrix. So these are all the type of printers. So we have thermal printers as well. Then we have ink tank printers as well. So there are number of different types, but all of them comes under a single term, which is printer. Then we have a plotter. It is used to draw complex graphical, you can say, images. Then we have output devices which are analog, like your speakers and all that stuff. Then we have voice as a output. If your system can interact with you by using voice, then it is a voice output. After this, the next topic which we have, that is input output interface. Now we discussed about input output in the last chapters as well. What is an input output? What is an interface? So interface was uh, a place where your CPU was connected to the external devices. So that was a interface. Now if that interface, this is an interface, and it was connected with CPU, and CPU it was typically connected with accumulator. Then we were having input output devices on this side, interface, then accumulator. Then there were certain transfers which happen, or this is connected with INPR, you can say. Then INPR is connected with AC. Then AC is connected with OUTR, and then it was again connected with the interface, and then we were having a output device. So there were certain things which we have discussed in the last classes. Now we are going to talk about how the interface functions and what it can do, what are its main tasks, why do we use an interface, and why it is necessary to have a interface working in a proper fashion to make your system work properly. So what does a interface do? So it provides a method to transfer the information from internal, you can say, internal storage devices such as your registers to the external devices. External devices might be a monitor, it might be a uh, your keyboard, it might be a mouse. So any interface which we have will connect the input devices or inside of the computer to the outside environment. So that is where we use interface. Now, why do we need this interface? That is the second thing. Now, whenever we talk about a computer, we are aware that the system. or the internal registers which we have or internal system which we have in our computer is very fast as compared to the input output devices, because input output devices are electromechanical devices. Now what is it? Which include, it is a device which includes a part of electric or electronics and mechanical parts as well. If you talk about the keyboard, so keyboard is having a electronic part in it. It is also having a mechanical part, like pressing of a key. There is a mechanical mechanism which moves in, which helps your button to get pressed and then jump back to the same place. So it is a electromechanical device which includes both type of devices, and these electromechanical devices have some moving parts. So that is why they are quite slow as compared to the devices which are entirely based on electronics. Now, what are those devices? They are CPU or your memory like RAM. So, in this case, what happens? The speed of input output devices is usually low as compared to the speed of your CPU. So, it is very slow. So, if it is slow, then if we don't use that time properly in which the data transfer is happening in that particular time, if we don't use all the resources of the CPU, our CPU is going to get slowed down. So that is why we need to maintain a synchronization between a slower devices and a fast device. So to do that, we have a input output interface. So your input output interface will help you to maintain the synchronization between slow and fast devices. Now, let us talk about what are the units of information, how the information is flown. Now, when we are transferring the data from input output device to the register, so it will be sent in the form of either a byte or a block. Block is generally in the case of memory, byte is in the form of an input output device. Because in one input output device, if you press a single key on it, it will transfer a 1 byte of data. So it is usually sent in the case of bytes or blocks. Whereas in the case of CPU, when we talk about the units of information which flow on CPU, they are in the form of words. Now, if you are aware what is a word, I think you should remember this. There is a memory, and inside memory there are 15 bits or 16 bits. So then this is a word. Okay. So data representation means we represent the data in input output devices as a separate representation, whereas in your CPU the representation is different. Now, let us move to the next diagram. So this is something which we are discussing, input output bus and a interface. Now there are different type of interfaces which we have. So currently we are going to talk about input output bus and the interface which is connected with all the input output devices. So in this diagram, if you see it properly, we have a processor. Now this processor is having an input output bus, which means input output bus is having three different buses in it. First one is the data bus, which will transfer the data. Then the second bus is address, on which the address will be sent. And the last one is control bus, which will be telling us how and from where we have to read or write the data. So there are three different type of buses, and combinedly we call it as input output bus system. So in this bus system, three different type of data will be flowing. First one is the data related, the content related to the data. Second one is content related to the address, and the third one is content related to control. Then we have an interface connected with it, with the input output interface. So all these devices are going to get connected with the interface. So these bus lines are connected with the interface. So interface is further connected with all the different input output devices, which include keyboard, printer, magnetic disk, magnetic tape. So these are not just limited to these four devices. You might have other input output devices connected with it. Now, next is what is the task of that interface. So the first task which that interface is going to do is it decodes the device address. Now, if you can take an example in this case, if our computer is connected with four different printers, even though they all four are from the same company, every uh, there are four ports, and on all the ports we have four printers connected with your computer. Even though they are from the same company, everything is same. Still, if you give a print on printer number one, you will get the print on that printer only. If you give the print on printer number three, you will get the print on printer number three. So it is not going to mix those devices, even though they are from the same manufacturer. So what does it mean? Every device which we are having, which is connected with the interface, it has some address, and that address is unique. So whenever you give any print command or any type of command, that command is executed on that device only. It doesn't get mixed with any other instruction. It only gets executed at the same device for which that command is issued. Then, second, now let us assume we are not having only a print command, we are having a scanner as well in this. So, what type of command is it? Is it a command for scanning the data, whether it is a command for printing the data, whether it is a command to refresh the printer? What type of command is it? So, that is the task of interface to decode that operation and instruct the device to perform that. Okay, then interface is there. Then this interface also provides the signal to peripheral controller. Now what is a peripheral controller? There will be some interface connected here, and inside the printer we will be having different devices. Like in printer we will be having a PCB board which is going to control the functionality. Then we will be having those drum which is going to print out the pages. We will be having a tray in which we will insert the pages. So there are different components of this printer, but there will be a board known as PCB, printed circuit board. Now this printed circuit board will be also working as a controller, which will control the functionality of the printing. So the printer functionality will be controlled with the help of that PCB, printed circuit board. This is this is also known as a peripheral controller or any device. Generally, it is on a printed circuit board, which helps you to control all this. Your scanner has a printed circuit board. Your uh, hard disk drive is having a printed circuit board on it, which will work as a controller. So this is the task of your interface to provide this PCB with the information that what it has to perform. Then the next task of the interface is to supervise the synchronization of the data between this device, which is your input output device, and the processor. So that is the next task. After this, its main task which we have, that is a trans it controls the data transfer rate between different devices, that how your data transfer will be happening and at what speed it will happen. Then a typical input output instruction which we have, that is mentioned, that it contains the opcode, it contains the device address which is unique for every device. Then it also has a function code. This is the command, whether it is a like if in one device we have three in one device like printer, scanner, and all that stuff in a single device, then this instruction is going to tell what type of function that device is going to perform. Now, next is input output bus and memory bus. Now, what is the difference between input output bus and memory bus? So, we have discussed this thing. This is an input output bus, that all the input output devices are going to get connected with the input output bus. These are some of the factors that you need to remember. So all the transfer over your input output devices will be done with the help of input output buses, whereas all the transfers related to memory will be conducted on memory bus. So what are the different type of buses? So we will discuss about them, how they are different from each other, what type of instructions does a single bus execute. So we will discuss about that. So first of all, let us see what are the functions of buses. So first bus is memory bus. It transfers the information between CPU and memory because it is a memory bus, so it is connected with a memory, and from the other end it is connected with CPU, so it transfers the data between CPU and memory. Then we have input output bus. The main task of input output bus is to transfer the data between CPU and input output devices. Now, there are different approaches to construct these buses. There might be different methods based on the architecture that how they are going to construct these buses. In some of the architectures, it might be possible that a CPU is there and a single bus line will be working as input output bus as well as memory bus. Both the things are done by a single bus. There might be an architecture in which we can have a CPU with different input output bus and different memory bus. So this is also possible. Okay. So see, in many computers use a single common bus system for both memory and input output interfaces. Now use one common bus but separate control line for each function, or use one common bus with common control line for both functions. Now what does it mean? So if I'm going to perform an input output instruction, I will be having a separate control line for that. If we are going to perform a memory related function, then we are having a separate control line for it. Both are working on a same line, but the control line is different. This is the first method. Some computers use two separate lines like this, one to communicate with memory and other to communicate with input output interfaces. Now, in this case, communication between CPU and all the interfaces via common input output bus is done. An interface connected to peripheral devices may have a number of data registers, control registers, and status registers. The command is passed to peripheral by sending a appropriate interface register. Function code and sense lines are not needed. So what is a function code and sense line? Function code is how your system is going to respond to a particular command, what type of work it is going to perform. So that is your function code. And sense lines are not needed. Sense lines are to continuously monitor a particular line. It is not required. Okay. Whereas if we are using a common input output bus, the common and status information is always via input output bus. If we are using a single common line, then all the data and status will be shared with the help of input output line if we are using this particular method. Now let us move to the next part. The next is isolated input output and memory mapped input output. So this is something little bit different from this. In isolated input output, separate input output write and control lines in addition to memory read and write control lines is there. What does it mean? It is related to this. Separate input output lines for read and write of peripheral devices and separate line for in memory read and write. So that is what it is saying. Separate input output read write control lines in addition to memory read and write control lines. So this will be having a different control lines for input output and different control lines for memory operations. Then separate or isolated memory and input output address space. This will be having a separate address. This will be having a separate address. Then distinct input and output instructions. Input output instructions will also be different. If you are going to perform it over memory, the address will be different. If you are going to perform it over input output devices, the address will be different. Now let us the next topic which we have, that is memory mapped input output. So in memory mapped input output, we have a single read and write control line. No difference between input output or memory. There is no difference. Both memory and input output addresses share a common address space. So they are having a same address space. Like if I want to represent a address, like we have mode, we have opcode, then we have address. Now this address will be similar for will be same in the case of input output and memory. Like we can create a difference, like first 300 addresses, if we refer to all those, they will be related to input output, and if I move above 300 and something, or 300, they are related to memory. So such kind of a setup is used in the case of memory mapped input output case. Memory mapped input output and address share the common address space. So there is a common address space which is shared by input output and memory. It reduces the memory address range available. Now what is the problem? This is one of the problems. The size of memory which we are going to use will be less. The reason is we are having a combined address space. If we are using a combined address space, so the number of maximum bits which we can use for address will be less. So it will give us a limitation that we will not be able to include more than a particular amount of memory. So this will reduce the memory address. There are no different input and output instructions which we have. The same memory reference instructions can be used for input output transfers. So we can use the same addresses which we have used for memory, not same addresses, like in the same range. So we can use them to perform memory, or we can use them to perform the input output operations. Now, then considerable flexibility in handling input output operations. So it is easy to perform all the input output operations. Now, if you remember, we studied something like this in which we were having mode, opcode, and address. So we studied that if mode is 0, it is a direct address. If it is 1, it is indirect. If the opcode is from 000 to 110, it is a memory reference. If it is 111 and this value is 0, so it is a register reference. If it is all ones, then it is a input output operation. So from this we can understand that if we are using such kind of a setup, so in this case our input output and memory are on a same you can say place. So we are using a memory mapped input output in case of such kind of things which we have studied earlier. So all the things which we have done till now, they were based on your memory mapped input output, which was that we are having same line to perform the input output operation and the memory operations. So that is why we were using the single address line or single address space to refer whether it is a memory reference instruction or a register reference or an input output reference. So this was same as of this one, which was memory mapped input out. Now the next is, what is the structure of input output interface and what is its task. So we will be doing this. So in an input output interface, there are different registers which we have, and there are different tasks related to it. So if you have read this, there is something mentioned Function, code, or sense lines are not needed in the case of second one. The transfer of data, control, and status information is always required via common input output. So if it is a common, like in this case, we are using a memory mapped, which is a common one. So we will be having a control register. We also have a status register. Now, how this is going to function? If you know how a decoder works, so it is in the same fashion. This is going to work in the same fashion as that of your decoder. So we have CS, which is a chip select. CS is chip select. This is going to work as a enable line. It is an enable line if we can consider it as an enable. So what does it mean? The circuit will only work if the value of this CS is 1. If this CS is 0, this circuit is not going to work. So say as simple as this. It is working as a enable in as it was working in a decoder. Then we have two another values RS0 and RS1. This is register select 0, S0 and S1, which we were having in decoder. Now it is RS0 because it is register select. Register select 0 and register select 1. Now, as we did earlier, if both the values, if CS is 0, it means whether this value is 0 or this value is 1, it is not going to work. So it is same in as in the decoder. Now, if this value is 0, 0, we will be having a functionality. If it is 0, 1, different work. If it is 1, 0, different. If it is 1, 1, different. Now, in this case, we are having what it is going to perform. In the first case, if it is 0, nothing, it will be none. Then if it is 0, 0, the first value will work. Now what is connected with first? It is port A or A register. So port A register will work. Then for the second, port B register will work. For the third, a control register will work. Then for 111, the status register will work. Now, why it is going to function in this way? We are having different ports and different registers. Now, these registers are connected in this way. It is up to you how you want to connect them. According to that, your circuit functionality will change. Port A and port B are a bidirectional input output data registers. Out of them, one can be used to send the data, second can be used to accept the data. So that is why they are bidirectional. It can send the data as well as it can receive the data. These are bidirectional. When we talk about control register, so control register is something which is going to get a value from CPU, and CPU is the one who is going to give the instructions in the control register. Once your control register receives the instruction, it will act accordingly. So the functionality of this entire interface can be changed by your CPU by sending an appropriate command to control register. So according to that command, it will start functioning. Then the status register is a single-sided. Why it is single-sided? Because it is going to receive the information from the device only. So that is a status register. Then we have bus buffers. So bus buffers are used to store the data temporarily before transferring it to the registers of CPU or from CPUs to these ports. So it only stores that data for some time. See, as you are already aware, register select 1, register select 2. This is an input output read or write operation that what you are going to perform. So that is how this particular interface works. Your CPU can configure the functionality of of your input output interface by transferring a appropriate command in control register. So you can check this. Information in each port can be assigned a meaning depending on the mode of operation of the input output device. Like port A is for data, port B is for command, port C is for status. It is up to you how you want to configure them. CPU initializes or loads each port by transferring a byte to the control register. So it will send the first command to the control register, and your all the whole interface will be programmed in the same way. Allow CPU to define the mode of operation of each port. Programmable port. By changing the bits in the control register, it is possible to change the interface characteristics. So it can change the functionality of this interface by changing the bits in the control register. So this is how a input output interface works. Please do look into your book for detailed explanation of this diagram. Please have a look at that. And in the next class, we will be starting with asynchronous data bus. Thank you so much for your time.